overusing tall drink, just short fuse and getting in my own way. I'm just a blood stain, folded hands, throwing back the milligrams. I can't find the brakes. I'm hiding from the sun, devil riding shotgun. God knows I'ma crash and burn. 'Cause that highway to hell is the road I'm on. I need to turn around before I'm too far gone. I'm never.
All right, welcome back to the ZCAST. I'm Zachary Alleccia, and thank you for tuning in to another episode. Today, I'm here with our own Central Texas Storm Wrangler.
How are you?
Josh Johns. Nice to see you again,
Good
sir.
to see you again.
Good. Awesome. So this is our very first video version podcast.
Oh, awesome.
So this is going to be on YouTube. I mean, this is good. This is big. It's a big
Yeah.
star. It's a step star, but we're going to get there.
Cool.
So since we're here today, I want to start off right away. What made you want to choose meteorology and could pursue that path?
You know, honestly, I grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So North Texas, we had a bunch of weather that blew through. I grew up scared of the storm.
Yes.
But I was homeschooled, and my mom decided to teach the fear out of me by doing that. So she taught me more and more about it. I ended up becoming obsessed with it, watching the guys on TV, realizing that, I want to be one of those guys keeping folks safe and calm.
Of course.
And so that's really what it grew out of. And, thankfully, I've had those opportunities that have come along, whether it be by divine intervention, which I personally believe, or by, coincidence. Things have really come along and just been able to open doors for me to pursue this, which has been great. Not gonna lie, it wasn't easy work,
of course.
but I'm blessed to be doing what I've wanted to do all my life.
And that's what I want to pursue. I mean, pursuing meteorology. I know it's a schooling and stuff. Exactly. So this being your passion, what is it growing up? Obviously, you started talking about how you gave your mom and stuff you had like that growing up in an environment of weather and stuff. So what is your passion towards it? How did it feel?
I mean, my passion towards growing up in Tornado Alley?
Yeah, Tornado Alley. Yes.
Yeah. So it was just wondering, okay, why is this happening? One, because that'll help you be less scared about it. So my mom kind of realized that and taught me that. And then I wanted to learn everything about it.
Yeah.
Really and truly. And would watch it. I remember as a kid watching all the tornadoes at Fort Worth. Fort Worth in 2000 was a big deal. Yes. That hit my mom's high school, actually, that she grew up going to.
High school?
Calvary Cathedral.
Okay.
So it was a little private school that was on West Fort Worth. If you're familiar with Fort Worth, the old Pier 1 building went up there. I think now it may be owned by the city of Fort Worth.
Fort Worth or something.
It's that building that's like a square and it has a jag like that, and it's on the west side. So they just developed all that. And it's kind of ironic that where that tornado went through in Fort Worth, there's still street signs with the tornado on it.
Wow.
But that they've really turned that upscale. So a lot of the things that are there don't even realize. An F3 tornado went through
there. And
so
it's crazy how within maybe 10 years after the event, everything can change. And I mean, it usually building better structures, different environments. You obviously know that. So are you happy with your career path you've chosen?
I am happy. Now, I will say that the way broadcast is going has changed a lot.
Oh, yeah.
You're seeing a lot more emphasis on digital like stuff here as opposed to being on what we call linear. So the big frontier that we're trying to capitalize on now is how do we balance linear and digital. And that's just opened up a whole new world of things to consider. So it is changing a lot.
Yeah.
And, there are adjustment periods. But ultimately, I do like the career that I have.
But that's good. I mean, I remember when I first got into weather. I mean, I've talked to you about this before. I grew up in Florida. My parents are from New York, and I lived in Orlando. And I remember we had Hurricane Matthew come through. It was one of the biggest storms that caused most coastline damage for Florida in that time. But I mean, I got no school off for a tropical storm. I mean, the differences between school shutting down for a light dusting in Texas, snow compared to a tropical storm down in Florida,
which is crazy to think about.
Exactly, and it's like, how does it go through? Because I mean, my parents went through 3 hurricanes in a 2-month span: Charlie, Francis, and Jean. And my mom was in the closet before I was born.
Right?
Yeah, no, 04.
04,
yeah.
was Katrina.
Katrina was 05. And I remember my mom was talking that she was in the closet, and all you would hear is just the snapping of trees every minute. And what I'd done research on it, it was only a Category 1 when it went through their area, but the thing that made it so interesting is that it was the tornadoes.
Yeah.
The tornado. It was such a tornado compact storm, and it just changes everything in weather and how I wanted to view it. And so that's why you're here today, and we're talking about Weather. So now we're going to start off going into your high school and college. We're going to go a little bit farther back now.
Yeah.
What college did you go for degree, obviously, meteorological sciences?
Yeah, I went to Texas A&M, and I graduated in December 2014. So I got out early thanks to dual credit.
Oh, that's good.
And we had to study meteorology there. A&M is the premier meteorology school in Texas. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that can't be an official endorsement. There are other schools
There's other schools, yeah.
However, in my unprofessional, unofficial opinion,
Texas A&M is the best school.
But Texas Tech also has a master's program. Mm-hmm. Texas Tech has a bunch of smart people there. And you have OU. You can go to OU. I chose to go to Texas A&M. Personally, I lucked out. I was top 10%. And the state of Texas. And back then, that got you automatic admitted. So it was just like, well, this is just the easy thing to do. And then, lucked into some scholarships, was blessed with those, and was able to use that to further my education. But Texas A&M was a great place to learn. They focused a lot on the research side of things. So as opposed to someone who maybe had gone to Mississippi State, which is a great school, don't take that the wrong way by any means, where they focus more on operational, which has great advantages. And especially in the broadcast realm of things, Texas A&M had that and research. And so you had to go through all the math, regardless of if you're going to use it or not.
Yeah, that's right.
It ended up being kind of tough. And I mean, I won't lie, I struggled at times, but thankfully had those around me that were able to lift me up and pull me through it. And got out there with my degree. And, now I'm doing what I'm doing.
Hey, but you're becoming successful.
I'm trying.
But you're there. You're almost there. And I mean, I was doing research on it. Baylor is now offering meteorology.
They are, really?
A little bit of a program.
Class,
but they're starting to turn it around. But I mean, $30,000 a semester. I mean, I'd rather become an Aggie. I'm not gonna lie. So
A&M's still expensive too.
That is
Don't
true.
get me wrong. Any college now is expensive, unfortunately. I mean, it pays off. But it's just the world we live in now.
Exactly.
So
was this hard to get your degree in college?
I mean, there were nights I had to stay up studying. By all means, I was not sitting there hitting up all the clubs and partying and whatnot. Like some people that go to college do, which is fine. That's part of experiencing life. But for me, I had to actually focus and take care of that. So yeah, I mean, it was tough. And, I had to retake a couple classes. I had to retake some, take them over the summer.
Chemistry?
At community colleges. Chemistry was not one of them.
That's good.
Calculus was one of them. Calculus 2, I think, is what it was. And then, took one class to get ahead, which was physics. So shout out Collin College for, having that. But, it wasn't a cakewalk, nor is it designed to be. It's designed that you come out and you understand it.
Yeah.
Does that mean you're going to use everything that is
there
every day? No. But you have that general understanding, which allows you to see, especially in our neck of the woods, when things are being portrayed wrong. And so we were able to make a more accurate forecast because we know what's going on
outside of the science.
Which is why you want to follow a degree meteorologist.
Yeah.
As opposed to people that forecast the weather. No shade on them. It's just we can see things a little differently sometimes.
And I mean, I actually really, we'll mention a little bit later, but I was down in Port A not long ago.
Yeah.
And I actually met up with one of the meteorologists down there. And they're great.
Which one?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But I know
he was
in a rush. He was like, listen, I can't talk and I got to go. I mean, you got to stay safe for the storm. And then it takes a left turn and you're like.
Was it Beryl?
It was Beryl.
Beryl's crazy,
and
man.
I mean, our hotel, they wanted to evacuate and stuff like that. I'm telling my parents, I said, listen, we're going to be okay. We can get out of here Sunday morning. I think this thing's going to jog a little bit more to the north than expected, just because of the way that high pressure was constantly slowly moving out towards the Atlantic. That was just my opinion. I thought I viewed it, and we got out of there perfectly with just seeing that big band of outer bands first getting there, and we got out of there good. But Josh, moving on to the sides of it, was there an event in your childhood that made you decide that you wanted to pursue the meteorology in the future?
I think it was probably that Fort Worth tornado. Also, as a kid, I grew up. We had Gerald happen in '97. We had Oklahoma City happen in '99. Oklahoma City more.
More.
And so my mom tells me I was glued to the TV during all those, which doesn't shock me. I was a weird little nerdy kid growing up, So that really wouldn't surprise me. However, I think what re-cemented it was we had a tornado in, I believe it would have been 2013 that went through Cleburne, Texas, my hometown.
Oh, really?
And so that was an F3 that happened while I was in college.
Oh, wow.
And this was about the time I was struggling with school too. So being able to post about that live to see how it was affecting my family. So, and thankfully it passed south to my family, but it hit so many of my classmates that their moms and dads were reaching out saying, hey, we were following your stuff on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you for keeping us calm. And, that type of reward is better than money.
Exactly.
Not praise, but just knowing that you're keeping people safe. Or at least assisting in keeping people safe, to me, is why I do what I do. And so that reignited the passion in me as it was starting to fade a little bit, because school was going a while, and just struggling with it here and there. When I got through that actually reignited it, pushed me through school.
Hey, but it's always something that starts it off, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's always something that
Every meteorologist has a story like that, too.
And it's interesting. I mean, I don't know if you know him, Reed Timmer.
Yes.
You probably know Reed.
Of course.
And I just love watching his stuff on, YouTube and stuff. And he's like out there and literally within like less than maybe 10 miles from this thing, this massive wedge EF4 tornado in Oklahoma. And I was like, I want to be that guy. I was like, I want to be that guy. So how did you end up in Central Texas and at KXXV?
So I ended up in Central Texas. First of all, when I got out of school, I went to the Valley, Rio Grande Valley. I was there for about 4 months. They wanted someone who could report on news a little better. I was not one of them. And so I did not make that cut and had to go home and, deal with life, sit there, go 9 months without a job.
Oh, wow.
End up in San Angelo, Texas after that. During that, I ended up substitute teaching.
Oh,
had to pay the bills somehow. So,
right?
Shout out Cleburne ISD, my hometown school, for allowing me to substitute teach there, and putting up with me having to deal with some crazy but very smart kids at the same time. And then went out to San Angelo, Texas, became a weekend meteorologist. I believe that would have been 2016. And after a year and a half, became the chief out there. I wasn't going to leave. There were openings around Waco. I'd always wanted to kind of go back to Waco. I interned at a competing station in Waco. Said competing station had an opening. And I was like, oh, man, I want to go. And I actually got a call from the folks at 25, where I'm at now. Said, hey, we want you on this weekend job. And I was like, man, I don't want to do weekends. But, I was like, I'll go figure it out. And, I fell in love with Central Texas, which I already had a love with.
Of course.
And just realized it's where I needed to be. So I came to Central Texas in what would have been 2019, summer of 2019. I've been here since. So we're running on 5 years now.
Wow.
Starting on weekends, been on mornings after that.
And so you've been all over the place.
Been all over the place. And we also broadcast to College Station. So, we're broadcasting to Aggies.
The Aggies while you're broadcasting to.
We can't really have a better world than that, especially since those games are going to be on our channel coming up next year.
Hey, well, there you go.
That's going to be great.
And I know I also saw on your social medias also, you also do sometimes went down in Corpus Christi. I saw you on some news work down there also.
We have a sister station in Corpus Christi. The company is Scripps.
Okay.
And so they own 25. They also own a sister station in Corpus Christi, hence why I was asking which meteorologist it was. And occasionally we have to help each other out. Right. And that's something that's really come of age now that we've had all these shifts in the industry. There are some companies that are sitting there coming up with teams of meteorologists that their sole job is to help out when someone is off or someone has maternity leave or stuff like that from maybe even a remote location, because that is, and COVID really taught us all that.
Oh, yeah.
Was that we can sit here and we can have a remote studio. And we can put out a forecast that is good and a forecast that is effective from that. Now, it doesn't compete to being live. So, it's still live. It was still live. When we did COVID, I was in my apartment broadcasting to a phone. Your setup here is nicer than the setup I had in my apartment. Don't tell my engineers that. So, we were doing it with stuff that it was like, how are we doing this, man? But it's the technology has come so far that we're able to do that, and that's that shift that has happened. So that's why we have been on air in Corpus before. Yeah.
And that is insane. With COVID having, obviously you can't go to the studio. You're working at home.
It was crazy.
I was at home all the time too. We didn't have school and stuff. So now for the fans out there, we're going to turn a switch here, meteorology.
Yeah.
And who is a meteorologist and what do they do?
So by definition, a meteorologist is someone who studies the weather.
Okay.
Meteorology in Latin means the study of weather, just like geography means the study of Earth. Which is cool because they kind of work hand in hand. I'm a big believer that terrain has a big effect on your weather.
Okay.
Maybe more than we really think. And I think that's why we have little maximums of tornadic areas at, say, Gerald or more. I think the terrain plays into that. As far as what a meteorologist does, they can be all over the place. I mean, we have meteorologists that are in the Army. We have meteorologists that work for oil companies. There's meteorologists that work for energy companies, and their sole purpose is to basically, based off of the forecast, decide, hey, do you go buy energy credits now or do you buy them later? And that is extremely high stress.
It is.
You get it wrong, you could be losing $2 million to the company. So I'm very thankful not to be doing that. There's meteorologists that work for private companies. There's meteorologists who work for research. There's meteorologists who work for the government, NOAA, National Weather Service. They're big. And then, of course, you have the TV meteorologists, the broadcast meteorologists. And now you're getting that new side of things where you're getting more digital meteorologists. Folks at Texas Storm Chasers, some are digital meteorologists.
Yes.
And so that is a niche that is starting to come of age. So the degree opens you up to a wide spectrum of things that you're able to do. Mine is just one little small part of it.
Hey, well, there you go.
Yeah.
And that actually is something I was going to talk about, obviously, the different types of fields of meteorology. And so would you count a storm chaser as a field of meteorology?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, yes. Are they degreed? That's a question.
That's a good question.
Storm chaser is more of a weather enthusiast.
Yeah.
There are storm chasers that are meteorologists. Where we're starting to get in trouble is where we have folks that are weather enthusiasts that they may know a lot. That's great. But there are things that they still don't know. And when you're adding more and more people on the roads looking at this stuff, that's blocking people that do know what's going on, then it's unfortunately a recipe for disaster.
Yes.
And we've seen that. And we've seen meteorologists that know their stuff, unfortunately, have tragedies because of this. So it's kind of a situation where we have to be really careful because we don't want to stifle the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
We love that people are wanting to go out, wanting to see nature, wanting to see how weather works, but they need to do it in a safe manner. And so those spotter trainings the National Weather Service put on, that's probably one of the best things to do because then you know what it's doing, you know where to position yourself, and you know where you need to go out. When I go out in the Storm Wrangler, I'm always looking for 2 or 3 ways to get out of the way. And Temple was a close call because we were kind of hosed just based off the road network, based on the direction the storm was going and how fast it was moving. Unfortunately, you get in situations like that. But you really need to just be safe about it. And so as long as those weather enthusiasts, storm chasers, meteorologists that are storm chasers can do that, I think having a knowledge of meteorology really helps your cases in being safe like that. So I will always recommend that. It's just something we've got to be very careful about. Because, you can get all the data for $10 on your phone now.
AccuWeather, Weather Channel.
I use RadarScope. Great app. $10. But just looking at that and being like, well, red touches green, that's where the tornado is. Man, you got to know more about the storm behavior, and you don't learn that unless you've gone to school or you've sat there and you've chased for 20 years. There are people who've chased for 20 years, and I'd trust them over a meteorologist personally. But as far as folks that are going out for the first time, it's real dangerous. It's not something to be taken lightly. I know a lot of folks are going to want to go out after seeing Twisters. You know? That happened with the first one, the first Twister movie. So it's just something we have to be very cautious, very careful, and tread lightly with because unfortunately, just making one wrong move when you're dealing with storms like this, it can really be costly. It can really be deadly. So, I mean, I consider some storm chasers meteorologists, yes. Some storm chasers are just storm chasers, and a lot of them are knowledgeable. Just got to be careful with the ones that maybe are not or maybe are newer. And that's where I think there's an opportunity for these older storm chasers to maybe take them under their wing and teach them something. And hopefully that's something that we see happen as that field grows.
So, I mean, as the field grows and different people get interested, I'm in school. I just graduated Lorena ISD. I have a student. His name is Cameron, and he's going into NASA.
Cool.
And so I've talked to him some stuff about NASA and stuff. So this was one question I actually thought about. With NASA being a big influence, is NASA contribute with the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center? How does it all fit together?
and I may be wrong on this, but I believe NASA operates GOES.
Okay.
So obviously they have to launch it. That all works together, and I'm probably wrong on this. I can't guarantee I'm right on this. I know the National Weather Service and NOAA is under the Department of Commerce. I don't know if NASA is. However, NASA launches the satellites up in the air. Those satellites are looking at the weather constantly. It goes into our models. It allows us to observe it. And so that is going to create more accurate forecasts for the National Weather Service, National Hurricane Center, and whatnot. So it all works hand in hand. It's all science, and it's all scientists. So obviously that will all work together and eventually make things all better. And now you've got, private space companies coming up, and they're going to be working together. So it's a whole new frontier. And really and truly, it's just all about trying to make things better or more accurate. And you have private investors coming in and saying, hey, we're going to help out too, which is great. If they can all work together with the government, great.
Yeah, there you go.
And maybe we'll have more accurate forecasts. And things could be crazy. We may know where a hurricane's going to hit 10 days out. I'm not going to guarantee it by any means. 10-day forecasts even now.
In like 10 years from now, it could be different. I mean,
there's no telling.
And then that
science is just accelerating.
So Texas weather. Yeah. This is the fun one I want to talk to you about. So what makes Texas such a primary spot for severe weather?
Honestly, we're just where the air is clashing between the Gulf of Mexico. You have the Rocky Mountain cold air, it's dry air. The Gulf of Mexico is warm, muggy air. You've got Canadian air that comes in every now and then. And then in the spring, you have the dry line. That's just because of the Chihuahuan Desert and northern Mexico and western Texas, that all that just comes together. And when you throw all that together, and then you have the jet stream coming down too, all the ingredients are just there. Tornado Alley stretches down into Texas. There's a reason why. Ours just gets crazy because we have the cap. Yeah. More so than, say, Nebraska or Kansas, because the Chihuahuan Desert is right there. So we're seeing all that come together, and it just makes for really spectacular showings of severe weather, or just really challenging forecasts for when that would happen.
And so as we now dive into the different severe things that have happened, Hurricane Harvey. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously 2017. It's already a couple of years, after now. I remember I went with a school down there to Padre Island, and we went, and our hotel was completely flooded out. And that was 2 years after the hurricane hit, and things were still destroyed.
Yeah, Port Isabel?
No, Port Hay. Port Aransas.
Okay. Yeah. So North Padre Island.
North Padre Island area. And it was just, they're still recovering down there. I mean, now it's a little bit better. Yeah. Obviously, but the flooding and everything that happened in Houston, like, what was your views? I mean, obviously we got impacted here in Central Texas. Yes. I mean, a little bit with some outer bands and stuff, and maybe some severe weather. How was that opinion for you? Did you actually go for the storm, or?
So I actually had the opportunity to work with, at the time I was in San Angelo, and we were owned by a company whose sister station was in Austin, KXAN. So I got to work with KXAN during Hurricane Harvey. At first, all that flooding rainfall that hit Houston was supposed to come into Austin. Now, meteorologists, there's very smart meteorologists at the National Hurricane Center. And all of them were saying, hey, this thing is going to stop moving somewhere. We don't know where it's going to stop moving. This model says here, this model, and that's the thing. Different ones. Tropical changes so much. You saw it with Beryl.
Yeah, Beryl, I mean.
And it just got stuck. Mm-hmm. And so all of a sudden, you have a top. Basically, you spin a top, right? It's got momentum's going one way. If you've got wind blowing it, that top is going to move. But once you turn the wind off, it's going to sit there. It's going to do this.
It's going to just spin and run circles.
And that's basically what Harvey did. And so we didn't know where that was going to happen. Unfortunately, it happened to where Houston was on the dirty side of it the whole time. That storm moved back out over water,
and then it went back.
Grabbed more water, threw it into Houston. So I mean, unfortunately, everything came together right over the Houston, the Beaumont area. Mm-hmm. That very well could have come together over Victoria. It could have come together over Corpus. Like, it's really tough to forecast tropical because all of those little things go together. And so Harvey, it was a once-in-a-generation storm. It was. Not to discount what happened to Rockport Fulton and what happened to Corpus Christi. I mean, they were right where the eye came in. It was a Category 4 storm. That thing is a lot of wind.
It was left side.
A lot of surge.
A lot of the wind was on that left. Was it on that left side of the storm?
And if I remember correctly, it was probably taking an eye wall replacement.
That's what I think it was probably done.
And so because of that, you get a lot of different change in dynamics in the storm. You also had a lot of moisture, so it struggled to decrease in intensity. As it came across over the swamplands in the coastal plain
area.
Coastal plain, swamp, marsh, whatever's down there, the Aransas National Wildlife Refuge. It struggled to weaken. And so I think because of that, you had different things happen. Also, when you get in the eye of the storm, there's these things within the eye wall called mesovortices. Those will spin around. They'll carry higher wind. It's kind of like within a tornado, especially a multi-vortex tornado, where the little small funnels are rotating around the main funnel, carry more wind, carry more damage. Harvey showed that as well, as do most of those strong storms, or strong hurricanes rather. And the thing that was crazy about Harvey is it went from being a category 1 to a 4
in less than, what was it?
Less than 24
hours.
And that's one of my fears, because my grandparents are down in Victoria. That's been a fear I've always had. And I think because you're seeing warming of the seawaters, we know the seawater's warmer, regardless of where that comes from. Folks at home may think one way, other folks may think another way. However, we know there's warmer than normal water down there, especially as of late, and the models struggle to pick up on that. And I think because of that, we have seen an increase in these rapidly intensifying storms. But we're also knowing they're rapidly intensifying more too, because we have that great satellite data. So
and I mean,
Harvey was crazy in that aspect. It just started chugging and going. Had it had another 12 hours over, it could have been a 5.
It could have been a 5. I mean,
and it was compact. It was compact, and because it was compact, it was able to strengthen quicker.
Yeah.
The broader the storm, the harder it is to strengthen quicker.
And I mean, with Harvey impacting Central Texas a little bit, now we go to the big one. Literally, to kind of like, I think it's about to approach 3 years now. Snow. I mean, a lot of people call it snowvid, or I like to call it the blizzard of Central Texas, even though it wasn't. It wasn't there yet.
I mean, we got a bunch of snow.
It was close enough. Yeah.
We got a bunch of snow, and the thing that made that crazy, one, I think right before it, Texas had a population increase. Right, we had a ton of people move in. We were prepared to handle a lot. You have a ton of people move in. You start having a lot of electricity that has to flow, and then you're throwing down stuff that hasn't occurred since 1983. And when it occurred in 1983, it caused power outages too. Probably not as many, because we didn't have as many
folks. And now, I mean,
but the thing that was crazy about that, and this is common in a winter storm, is when it comes in, there's a lot of cloud cover. And so when we're doing well and we're thinking, hey, our grid's doing fine, we're relying on solar, we're relying on gas, but because we have so many more people, we're having to overwork those generators that they struggled to fire. And, it was a catastrophe. One, because you're bringing the coldest air that folks have seen since 1983. Think about it. You were born in what?
2004.
You were born in 2004. I was born in 93. 10 years before me is when that happened. So a lot of folks, they're seeing this cold air for the first time in their life.
It's like,
you don't know how to handle it. Then we're throwing ice on top of it.
And then
everyone's home because of COVID.
Yeah.
So there's more use on the grid too.
And then you have, just flat out snow on top of it.
And wind farms were freezing because
down in Corpus Christi. Down in Corpus Christi. I don't remember the record temperature down there, but I know, if I'm right, Houston metro area got down to like 10 or something like that.
And we got down to -1 in Central Texas. So these were things that are not normal. It came in, and we're sitting there in the weather center. We're watching. We're like, wow, good Lord, the models are doing this. There's no way that happens. They're staying consistent. How? Why are they saying? This is actually going to happen. And, eventually, I think 5-6 days out, we realized it. We started calling for it. We're like, oh, my gosh, this is going to be bad.
We need to start telling people what's...
But really and truly, it was a perfect storm.
Oh, it really was.
It's not a lack of preparation, in my opinion, on the state or anything. Yeah. It's just a perfect storm, testing something that hadn't been tested in years. We're talking 30 years since that's been tested. And, unfortunately, it led to the loss of life. It led to a lot of heartache.
Pipes being busted.
It led to folks becoming friends really quick because you had power in one spot, but you didn't have it anywhere else in town. So I hope that we never face it again.
Hopefully not.
I also have hope that the state will sit there and take steps to maybe to help prevent that. It was crazy.
Our area, well, actually, our house here, we were out of power for 4 days straight.
Yeah,
it was a 4-day straight outage period, and I would work the night shift, and my dad would work the morning shift, and we would just keep our gas burners on.
There you go.
That's the most we have. And I mean, I have a bird and everything else, and kind of keep that solid. It was a solid 65 degrees in the house. And it was incredible. And I was like, good. Because we like cut off half the house just to keep the heat in the central area. And I mean, that snowstorm, I mean, I don't remember how much snow we got, but all I knew is that my car was buried. I couldn't see it. It was just a mountain of snow. And then that was the red car out front. So now we transition to 2022, the Salado tornado, the EF3 that hit. I mean, that, I think, if I'm not for sure, I don't know, what was Temple tornado? Was it a 2?
I believe the Temple tornado was a 2.
The last one that I would say obviously Temple was major. The last significant one was the Salado tornado of 2022 that hit Salado and the effects from it. Yeah,
and it was almost a 4.
It was
a big EF3, and I was on the ground the next day with my chief meteorologist, Matt Hines. We were sitting there, we were walking the ground. I mean, it is a surreal feeling when you're sitting there where a tornado is hit, because it just feels eerie. Things are not what they should be. You can see people that are just struggling.
Yeah.
That, yesterday they had a full-blown house. They had all their belongings, and now it's just strewn all over the place. And it's something that'll sober you up really quick.
Really will.
Really quick, seeing that damage, seeing people hurting, and reminds you, hey, these are the people that we try to protect. I mean, I recommend to any meteorologist that works with us, if they have the chance, to be able to do that, just because it drives home what we do.
Yeah.
It's not about the glam. It's not about being right. It's about being right when it counts.
When it counts.
And it's about keeping people calm and keeping people safe. And that will drive that home. But the Salado tornado was crazy just because it really, you could see it got stuck in a little valley and kind of followed that. And I was talking to someone that worked on the ranch, and that ranch goes from Salado down through Jarrell over to Florence. And they had said something along the lines of, the last 30 years, we've had 20 tornadoes on this ranch.
Wow.
So
that is incredible.
You look at the terrain there, I think there's some sort of maximum.
There's a terrain thing there.
And I mean, you had Jarrell twice. 3 times. Really, because it happened before 97 as well. One happened in the 80s, I believe, then 97, and then very recently. And then you had Salado not long after. I mean, there is something there. I don't know what it is, but there's
something. It's the terrain, the layman. And I mean, Temple, now when you switch to Temple, my dad's friend, his name's RJ, and he was recently in the hospital down in Temple when this tornado came through.
Yeah.
So he's in the hospital. They're sounding the alarms. They pushed him into the hallway, and you hear windows being literally fiberglass shaking. And he walks out of the hospital after a couple of days after, and it's just incredible. I mean, solar panels off of people's roofs in the siding of their house. It's
crazy.
Temple was a very impactful storm. I mean, I was sitting here in Lorena. We got the straight line winds out of it. From what I can tell, we had about 70, maybe, I wouldn't say 80, but I would say really here.
Yeah.
At least 75 mile per hour winds coming into Lorena. Yeah. And I saw these trees go like this. And I told him, I was like, whoa, no. Get in the hallway. I don't like that look of those trees bending like that. But, I mean, the straight line winds comes out of it. So
straight line winds can cause just as much damage as a tornado. And that's what was crazy about Temple was that.
The straight line winds.
Because you had just a very broad area of straight line winds in addition to the tornado.
One thing I got asked a lot by my school teachers is that from what I've interviewed them and seen, not many people are taking tornado warnings or significant severe weather warnings seriously.
Okay.
And what would you recommend to people that have weather apps or to get weather alerts, what they should do if in case there is a tornado warning or severe weather in your area?
Yeah, you got to take cover. Get to a safe spot. I mean, we have technology now that buzzes this immediately. If it's either a tornado warning, a flash flood warning, or a significant severe thunderstorm warning, which in this case means 80-mile-an-hour winds. Plus. Now, Temple, I believe the warning was for 90. So, I mean... And looking on radar, there was 110 showing up on radar.
Yeah, whoa, is that all the way up to 10,000 feet?
It wasn't even 10,000 feet. No, it was closer than that. I want to say it was the first 2,000 feet. It may have been between 1,000 and 2,000 feet because the radar's in Granger.
Okay.
Which is northern Williamson, and Temple's in Bell. So it's relatively good radar data we were getting that was saying, hey, there could be 110-mile-an-hour winds in this thing. And guess what? This broad area is going to go right over Temple. And it hit all of Temple. None of Temple missed that.
Oh, yeah.
Temple missed it. And Belton saw it, everything. So when those type of alerts come in, and I mean, we have the technology now. No matter what you're doing, it's going to sit here and buzz
your phone and tell you.
Just like the Amber Alerts.
Yeah.
Make sure they're on, because if you get one of those, You need to react. And you need to be thinking, hey, where am I going to go if it does happen?
Yeah.
Before that.
And I mean, I saw on TikTok and social media. It's like, oh, it's just another tornado warning whatsoever. Let's sleep through it. I mean, that's where nighttime tornadoes come in. That stuff is dangerous. And I mean, with Salado and everything, I mean, the cloud, it looks like nighttime, literally, when that storm came through. How crazy it is. Well, now we're going to switch over to our introduction of our main focus today. Obviously, the Twisters movie, Josh.
Yeah.
Both of us have saw it. Very interesting. Several years later, obviously, it's not a remaking of a second, like a prequel of the other movie, but it's a completely different. They just added the S at the end. Actors Daisy Edgar Johnson and Jones and Glenn Powell. They did a fantastic job in the movie. And so let's take a look from a clip from our new Twisters movie.
Dodge whatever's in there. It's big and it's moving fast. Drive. Go, 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 go! Look out! Guys, you gotta get out of here. Do you hear me? It's Tyler Owens. Calls himself a tornado wrangler. If you feel it, chase it! I said if you feel it, chase it! All right, here we go. Oh, she's perfect!
She's gorgeous!
You thought you could destroy a tornado.
We never had a chance.
You want one? You don't face your fears. You ride them.
We got twins! Twins!
Is that it? Nope.
All right, so the Twister movie. We just saw the clip.
Yeah.
What is your opinion of that? I mean,
I thought it was real good.
It's really
I've
good.
seen the original Twisters. I'm glad that, one, they kept a lot of the elements in it, but they also created a separate story within it. And, I thought it was good. It kept me entertained the whole time. Now, I saw it in the super screen.
The XD.
The XD there, and that really helped keep things entertained because it's just right in front of you. But I thought it was done really well. And, I thought that they did a good job, one, keeping it entertaining, two, keeping it from being too fake. There were a lot of times, especially with meteorologists watching the original Twister, where they were sitting there and they're saying, man, that's wrong.
That's wrong.
And, they did a really good job researching that. In fact, they had the folks at the National Weather Service in Norman sitting there giving them a class on it. The director reached out to the folks at the National Weather Service in Norman and said, hey, we want you to give our actors, our producers, all a class on what weather is, how to be safe in it, all these meteorological terms. And you can tell by watching the movie. Yeah. They included more meteorology in it than in the past.
And I mean, we as we compare the old movie to the new movie, I mean, you can see the clouds, the tornadoes. I mean, for that time,
special effects are better.
Of course, they're going to be. You have the advanced technology and green screening and stuff. But I mean, opinion on the new movie and how it relates to meteorology. Obviously, you were saying that they had the classes and stuff. Do you think they perfected the meteorology part of that movie? Perfect.
I'm not going to say they 100% perfected it, but I think there has to be a balance that you're walking, especially being in Hollywood. If it was just pure meteorology, it would be boring.
Like a fire tornado.
Some of the stuff, I'm not so sure on the putting all the stuff up in the air, making it rain. And they said, there was cloud seeding. That's a real thing.
That's a real thing,
I don't know about what they were talking about, where it's like, hey, we're going to descend this and kill it. Cold pool racing out in front of a tornado, that was good meteorology because as you cut off a tornado from warm air, it's going to struggle. So the idea of building a cold pool to do that was good meteorology. I don't know if the atmospheric chemistry is right within that. So, I mean, it was cool. It was good from a sciencey standpoint. Are there things where they stretch it? Absolutely. But they did a good job, in my opinion, respecting that, yet keeping it entertaining.
Well, people should go out and watch the new movie. Don't forget, it is in theaters. And make sure you go watch it. I mean, we both liked it. I think it's very entertaining. It's for me, I think it's like a 9 out of 10. I mean, personally, I mean, the music. What makes the first movie so great was the soundtrack. The soundtrack, Luke Combs, I mean, everything about it also.
Anyone who likes country music is going
to love the movie.
Yeah, the soundtrack's great for that. And they really got some artists that are not as big in country music on there, too.
Yeah, Mason Ramsey, he's a young artist. Yeah. I don't know, he's like in his teens now, 13, 14, I think. I'm not for sure, but he's in that album. And I'm like, wow, they start targeting those young people. So now we're transitioning. Tornado Alley, in the Fujita scale, obviously. How does a tornado form?
Well, a tornado forms when you have warm, moist air feeding a thunderstorm. Obviously, it builds up. A storm has an updraft and a downdraft. Updraft pulls in warm, moist air, feeds the storm. And then the updraft is a little low-pressure center. You'll have shear that already exists, typically a speed shear. So you have wind up here running a little faster than wind down here. That'll create a speed shear. And so naturally, you have this little rotating happening in the horizontal. And then the storm comes along, lifts up that, and it starts rotating. And from there, there's a bunch of processes that can happen that can bring it down. There's an argument on what exact processes it is, but basically you have a lot of spin within the storm, and eventually that gets brought down. And as you're tightening it, that spin is going to get faster, and eventually it makes contact with the ground, whether it starts from the bottom and goes up or the top and goes down. There's arguments on which side. But basically that's the gist of it, is you have rotation that's already happening. Storm picks it up, tilts it, and now you're spinning like this, and eventually goes to the ground.
Hits the ground. And so now also we talk about the times of season. Obviously, you could, but you won't see an EF5 or EF4 during Christmas time. But not necessarily, but we've seen it. And I mean, if I'm correct, wasn't it Kentucky about a year or two ago?
It was Bowling Green. Correctly, probably in December. But I mean, your big tornadoes are more likely to happen in the spring. Tornadoes can happen any time of year. But especially in Texas, they're more likely from March to June. That's usually your peak time. You have a secondary peak that's later on in the fall. And, if we keep warming, that would probably make the fall season be bigger as well. But they can happen at any time of year. That's typically when they happen in Texas, and in particular Central Texas.
And I mean, I remember back in 2021, we topped one day in 100-degree temperatures. That was after the big snow event. This year, we only have, I think, if I'm correct, 3. I'm not for sure, but 3 days. Or
we have a couple
more than that.
But it has not been an extremely hot summer as far as 100-degree days go.
I mean, we hit 84.
Difference this year has been humid.
Oh yeah,
it's been crazy humid, so it's felt hotter at times.
I mean, the Gulf moisture just spewing up.
We had the wettest month on record back in May. So,
and I mean, even July's getting totals up. I mean,
July's up there too.
And so that also, what does that go into? December, and that could lead to more storms. That could.
In my opinion, when you have more moisture, you have more chances for precipitation. So if it continues to be a wet year, maybe we're more likely to get snow in December. Or December or January.
Oh yeah.
If we dry out, that may change, and if it holds on into the spring, well, we could be talking about a pretty rough, severe weather season next year too.
Oh yeah.
And in my opinion, we've kind of we got out of a dry pattern. And I'm a big believer in patterns, so we'll have the dry times and we'll have the wet times, the dry times and the wet times, And I think that one sign of that was our active severe weather season this year. I think since we've continued to be wet, we're going to have another active one next year.
We might even have. Do you think we might even have one in the fall? We might.
We'll probably have another deal in the fall, because what I remember about El Nino and San Angelo is we had random storms like that, random little outbreaks that happen in the fall too. So. Certainly, when you have more moisture, there's more opportunity because that moisture feeds severe weather. Moisture, warmth, instability, lift, shear. Moisture, instability, lift, shear are your ingredients for severe weather. So you already have an abundance of moisture. That leads to an abundance of instability when you add heat to it. So you just need to lift in the shear and you're good.
And, Central Texas is obviously I would say we're kind of. Do you think we're in the edge of Tornado Alley? I think we're right around there.
I think we're included.
We're included in it.
I think as far as classic Tornado Alley, we're a little different because you're starting to get that Gulf influence coming in more. So you have a more tropical environment, say, as you go towards College Station. So we have like a different portion of Tornado Alley. It's not the same classic Tornado Alley you see in the plains. We still get a good chunk of tornadoes, and especially 35 corridor east.
Oh, yeah.
That is a big little tornado area.
Alley.
So I'd say we're still in it.
Yeah, and I mean, why are tornadoes so common in Tornado Alley? And obviously, we're now even seeing some Dixie Alley a couple years ago. And I mean, it's kind of shifting back and forth. Why do we see this here than anywhere else on the earth?
We just have all the ingredients.
Yeah.
Perfectly set. The drier we get in the plains, the more you're seeing that shift east. And I think that's why the Dixie Alley's coming up a little bit more. It's also because we have more people moving to the south. And so because of that, you're having more observations. We have better technology. We're knowing that they're on the ground more. Dixie Alley's a lot of nocturnal stuff. It's hard to see.
It's hard to see.
But since the advent of dual polarization radar, we can see debris on radar.
Oh, yeah.
And so because of that, we're able to say that's a tornado right there. And then you can send researchers out that'll see it later. And so I think a lot of them are being discovered more often. I'm not so sure that the science has shifted behind it. Oh, yeah. I think they probably already always have been happening. It's just now we know.
You mean the Tuscaloosa tornado? Yeah. Well, that was awful. And I mean, so now we get into what are the different levels of tornado. Obviously, there's a scale of it. And I mentioned it a couple minutes ago. Please refer to everybody out there. What is the scale that tornadoes are based off?
The enhanced Fujita scale. Okay. And so that's a scale of 1 to 5, 0 to 5 rather.
Okay.
You have E of 0 that goes up to, I think, 84 miles an hour. I don't know the exact numbers.
Something like that.
I should. I have a little reference sheet I look at.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff you got to remember in this day and age, right? So sometimes it's tough for me to remember. But you go 0 to 5, and 5 being the worst, obviously. And it's not based on what's happening at that time. We can't tell you, hey, that's a EF1 that's on the ground now. Now, based on research and knowledge and meteorological knowledge, we can say, hey, that's likely that.
Likely that. Yeah.
But it's scaled based on damage indicators. The National Weather Service goes out, they look, and they've got a book. I've seen the book. It's a big little notebook. And it's damage indicators. And based on, hey, this damage indicator, we're saying that the wind speed that came through here was that. And so based on that wind speed, they'll rate it using the enhanced scale.
Yeah, and I mean, the Fujita scale is really interesting. I mean, sometimes I'll look at the damage, I'm like, really? An EF2 or an EF3 when they should have been, I mean, but they also base it off of the damage. I mean, do you think we'll ever get to technology where we'd actually be able to predict that level of intensity before we even get the damage?
In some ways, we already can. In some ways, we know based on history and based on reanalysis, when these parameters are to this, these atmospheric parameters are to this level, then we know the possibility is there for a tornado this strong to occur.
Sure.
Does that mean it's going to occur? No. Does that mean if one occurs, it's going to be that? No. It means the potential's there for it. And so there are times we can look at it and see based on model data, hey, the threat is there for this to happen. A lot of times the models overdo it too, though. So that's where that meteorological knowledge comes in and why you need to trust a meteorologist over a forecaster. Or someone that doesn't have their degree is we've been versed in how to read that and say, hey, this model data is wrong. So we aren't going out saying, hey, there's a 90% chance of an EF5 tornado because we know that the data is wrong.
Yeah.
So I think, as technology progresses, as research progresses, we'll get better at defining that. I'm still a firm believer in the fact that there are things that happen that we cannot explain with science.
Yes.
And so to sit there and say, hey, we're going to 100% be able to tell you what's going to happen is just a straight up
lie. Yeah.
So I think, and I'm optimistic that that's how my industry will react, is there's going to be things we can't explain that we have to track in real time. And I think that's still going to be apparent. I mean, you saw it with Beryl. How many models got that tracked wrong? There were meteorologists, though. Shout out to Travis Herzog, Channel 13 in Houston, also a proud Texas Aggie. A smart man at that, too. He's sitting there watching. He says, hey, this eye's reforming here, this direction. And the model's already off by this much. And because of that, he called for a further north alignment, which ended up being right.
Yeah. That's
what it's going to take, is people that won't look solely at the models, but will look at the big picture and even the little picture and say, hey, because of that's wrong. This may happen.
And, I mean, that takes us, even, with Beryl being such a strong storm and hurricanes, obviously, they're nighttime, having this stuff occur at nighttime. So obviously nighttime hurricanes making landfall. And then we also have the one that's really dangerous is nighttime tornadoes.
Yeah.
And how significant those are. So why would we say, I mean, obviously not always it's called, but they say nighttime tornadoes are worse.
Yes.
Why are that? Why is that?
I wouldn't say that they're worse. I'd say they're more unpredictable.
Okay.
And you can't see them coming.
Mm-hmm.
And so since you can't see them coming, you don't have reports that are on the ground, they're going to sneak up on you more.
Yeah, and they're going to come out of nowhere.
And that's why those alerts I was talking about are so key, because it's going to wake you up.
And like a weather radio.
Yeah, weather radio too. Weather radio, tornado sirens, you hear any of that at night, you better be taking action because, I mean, we're looking at radar, but we have no one that can really tell us what's going on the ground. And that makes a huge difference because radar can show a lot of things, and it's a great tool.
Oh, yeah.
It can show a lot of things. It can say, hey, this is happening, but until we have confirmation, we don't know if that's really true.
Yeah.
So a lot of times at night, you're flying blind. And I think that's why nighttime tornadoes are more dangerous. I wouldn't say they're worse, but they're more dangerous.
So, yeah, I mean, with it being, obviously we could see, Texas and America has all these crazy severe weather. Mm-hmm. Now let's take it abroad to the whole world. We have different systems and different weather patterns. Mm-hmm. So can you please explain what is the difference between a La Nina weather pattern and an El Nino weather pattern?
So El Nino is going to be warmer than normal waters in the Pacific. Mm-hmm. And because of that, you're putting more moisture and you're increasing the amplitude of the jet stream or decreasing it. I get them mixed up personally.
Yeah.
But by doing that, you're basically creating a more active jet stream over the south.
Okay.
So when that happens, and we're in El Nino now, you're going to have access to more moisture, you're going to have access to more disturbances, and therefore you're going to have more active weather. With a La Nina, you're really pushing that north, which tends to mean quieter weather, but it can also mean big cold outbreaks.
Oh, yeah.
La Nina is when we have snowvid. So I mean, or snowmageddon, or the Texas deep freeze, whatever we're going to call it.
Whatever you want to call it.
When we had all that, was a La Nina pattern. So
that was crazy.
Are general ideas of what they'll bring, but there are always exceptions to the rule. Typically, El Nino brings us a wetter year in Central Texas. We're seeing that this year. There have been El Ninos that really haven't, though.
Oh, yeah.
So, but La Ninas tend to bring us droughts.
And they do. I mean, it's up in the air almost.
It can be.
It can be very up in the air.
But what it does is it helps you look at a long-term pattern. Hey, how's the rest of this going to be? And so it makes it to where you can. And it's really helpful for farmers in that case because if you're having a dry year, you want a little bit of optimism. It's going to be wet.
Oh, yeah.
So
and the jet stream, obviously, if I'm right, the jet stream is right over us almost. I mean,
it's over the country.
It's over the country.
It's going to fluctuate because that's what it is. It's like a slinky.
Oh, yeah.
But what it is, it's a conveyor belt for storm systems.
Yes.
So when that comes across, we'll get a storm system. When the jet stream takes a dip, we like to bring more active weather, cooler weather at times. When it goes up, like that, you end up being hotter.
They bring that moisture.
So it really controls the patterns of our weather, and it's a conveyor belt for the storm system. So when you have a jet stream right over you, and that's one thing El Nino does, it makes a more active subtropical jet stream, so that you have these systems coming in out of the Pacific that bring us storms.
And I mean, that also, I think if I'm right, that plays a role into also hurricane season.
It does.
It really does.
La Nina tends to mean a more active hurricane season. El Nino usually does not.
I mean, last year was a blank.
But the thing with El Nino is it also meant warmer weather here locally, wetter weather here locally. That changed the salinity of the Gulf. And so now you have a very warm Gulf and you're entering La Nina.
Yeah.
All things that are very contributing to a active hurricane season, which is what we're going into.
And there you go. I mean, and so the differences now, obviously, between, I even heard this in school teaching, teachers taught it, and I thought, I was like, that's not right. I was like, this is not right. The difference between a hurricane and a typhoon.
They're the same thing.
Why?
They're the same thing. It's just a difference in nomenclature. I think I'm saying the word right.
Is it the rotation?
Typhoons are going to be out over the West Pacific.
Okay.
West Pacific. East Pacific, which is the American coastline, that is hurricanes. West Atlantic, American coastlines, those are hurricanes. In the Indian Ocean, they're cyclones. So they're all the same thing.
They're just
difference in hemisphere makes them spin different direction, but they're the same thing.
Okay. That clears it up. I mean, a lot of my friends were like, "What's the difference between?" I said, "It's the same thing." Same thing. But now, we've seen hurricanes. We've seen all these things with Houston. Now, what happened recently in Houston? They got a derecho.
Yeah,
they got a really bad derecho, and I've always explained out to my parents a lot. Hey, listen, there might be a slight chance for a derecho to come through Texas. And they're like, nah, we won't see that crazy thing happen. And then I looked down in Houston, and we just saw a major event.
Yeah.
And I mean, it left millions of people out of power for days. So what is a derecho event, and how is it formed?
Well, what it is, it's a mesoscale convective system. That basically just means you're taking a whole area of storms and you're moving it along as one system. So instead of having individual storms like supercells that tend to bring us to tornadoes, these are all together in one little complex that is actually a big complex. And derecho is when you have a long-lived windstorm, usually 80 mile per hour plus, multiple reports of that, and it goes for, I believe, 200 miles. It may be 100. I believe it's 200. And so when you're tracking a long duration like that, you're going to have a ton of damage. It's going to be a very widespread system. It's going to cause a lot of power outages.
Tornadoes.
Yeah, and in this case, you know, it started between Austin and Houston, went all the way through Houston to the Gulf of Mexico. So it fit the track. It produced 80, 90 mile an hour winds, and it was mean.
And I mean, Houston has gotten slammed. I mean, with the derecho and the hurricane came through. I mean, I have some family down there. They were out of power almost for 4 days, too, after Beryl. But now we move into radar and advanced technology. This is a topic I really want to interested on you, is we track weather radar. We were talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
The future of meteorology and tracking weather. Your opinion on what you think. Do we think there's outdated warning systems? Is there a way we can improve it? What do you think?
I wouldn't call it outdated warning systems. I think we've improved them, especially by those different types of coatings that they put in it that can trigger these, or can trigger our systems on air to show it differently too. 13 did that with the Houston event. They called it a destructive severe storm. And so because of that, you added a little bit more oomph to your severe thunderstorm warning and maybe drove it home. This is a worse storm, which makes sense because of what you were saying, where folks are maybe like, oh, tornado warnings happen all the time. Well, we also have the ability to get a different type of warning when a tornado's on the ground. So I think we've improved it.
That's good.
We've obviously done better at getting the warnings out sooner.
Of course.
And I think that's come a lot because of the change in radar. Dual pole was huge.
Oh, yeah.
The next phase of radar technology is what you were already seeing on twisters. The phased array. That's going to be huge when it works. And then you have private companies coming out putting smaller, more high-definition radars that don't reach as far as the main NextRad network.
Oh, yeah.
And because of that, then in certain areas, you're going to have better coverage. So if you're in a more populated area, maybe you have one of those more high-definition radars that's scanning faster, and you get better data. I think that's going to improve our warnings more. And then the next phase that we're going to have to watch out for is AI.
Oh, yeah.
AI is a whole new frontier because when you apply that to forecasting, there are people that already and are already doing it successfully. But can you do it consistently? And so AI is going to change a lot of it. And I think it's still going to come down to a lot of, you have to know the general meteorology behind it, because you put garbage in a model, you're going to get garbage out. So AI is going to open up a whole new world of that. I don't know what it's going to look like. It's going to be crazy to see, though.
I mean, so obviously we're talking about the ray and the different type of things like that. I remember when I don't remember what year it was, but I was young. And I saw the first ever models, they started showing debris balls. Yeah. You can finally see a debris ball live on radar. And I'm like, that is so cool, but how does that work?
Really and truly, it comes a lot from the dual pole radar. One, we have higher definition radars. And then two, and it's level 2 data is what we have now. You also have the dual pole radar, which gives you what's called correlation coefficient, which is basically looking, hey, of the stuff in the atmosphere, the stuff the radar beam's seeing, is it all similar, which would be rain, or is it all very different, which could be a plethora of things?
Oh, yeah.
And because of that, and how far radar has come, we're able to look at it and say, that's a debris ball right there. And it shines like day now. They didn't have that really when the Gerald tornado happened. Because, one, the definition was way different. I mean, you're talking much wider pixels. Now we're talking about very narrow pixels. That changed a lot.
And so the mystery behind how all this fascinating thing works. I pulled a couple of questions to ask you. I mean, if you have a question also, or you have one to think of something that comes to your mind about mysteries, I pulled these out of like a general public online. So I'm going to talk about it through here. First off, why can lightning strike in the same place twice?
It can, and it has. And that's a common misconception. All it is a charge. And wherever that charge is, that's going to complete. So it can strike the same place twice. It can strike the same person twice. Too. So any sort of adage that says that's not true, that's false.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my dad even said, he was actually taking the pole down out front. Well, not here, but this was back in Florida. He's taking the pole down outside right before the storm, and then he just woke up with his dog licking his face and the rain's pouring. Got struck by lightning completely. And it's like, I don't ever want to feel that. Not gonna lie, I don't want to feel that. But that's scary. So another thing though is thunderstorms. I mean, they just, you have mesocyclones that blow, you have supercells. Why are they more common in the afternoon, evening than when we rather see them first day in the morning?
Really and truly, it's because of the fuel. You're more likely to have fuel, and especially in the spring, everything's just better when you're getting that solar maximum over year. You're heating the atmosphere more. That's basically boiling the atmosphere more, which feeds storms. So, I mean, when you have more energy, that's typically when it's going to happen. And then at night, you start to get that cap starting to set in. So that's why it happens.
And what is a cap?
Cap is a layer of warm air aloft. And basically, you have a lot of energy from those storms trying to lift up, hitting that warm air. And because the air here is warmer than the air parcel that's come up and hit that is cooler than this air, it falls right back down.
Oh, wow.
And that's what stops us from seeing storms a lot in the spring, even when the ingredients are there.
And is that because of our terrain? Or is
Partially, yes, because we're close to the Chihuahuan Desert I was talking about. You get the Mexican Plateau, the winds come out of the southwest a few 100 feet above us.
And then they hit.
And then it kind of stops
it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also kind of good for our area. I mean, as much as we, meteorologists would love, I mean, you too. We would love to want to see, these storms, but we don't want people to get hurt.
No, we don't. Like we don't.
Why does a tornado sound like a freight train?
Just all the wind. I mean, there's a ton of wind that's happening there. So to my knowledge, that's why it sounds like a freight train. It's a lot of wind moving. That's a lot of air molecules moving. As it gets closer to you, it's probably sounding like a train
rolling by. So. And our last one here is, how come tornadoes can total one house and then leave the one exactly next door either still standing, maybe a couple damaged roof shingles, but perfectly still?
Really and truly, there's no explanation for that. One possible explanation, because, I mean, tornadoes have a mind of their own. One possible explanation is if it's a multiple vortex, you're going to have those little vortices rotating around. It can be the angle the tornado's hitting. The tornado can be shifting, and the tornado can be hopping up and down too. So really and truly, there's no explanation to it. It just happens.
Really fascinating.
It's crazy,
and and that's where it's like, what's inside of a tornado? I mean, do we know what's inside of a tornado? I mean, there's obviously you have all these vortices going around, but I mean, you saw in the Twisters movie and the other Twister movie, they have this thing in the middle swirling around, and I mean, you don't know, and I mean, and it's very interesting. I mean, you saw storm chasers with their vehicles. They have these spikes going in the ground. I've seen some of that in real life. I don't know if it 100% works as great as it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's very interesting to see the least. But as we head into the closing of the second ZCAST podcast here, for someone who's going into school for meteorology like myself, I didn't tell you earlier, but I got a full ride scholarship from my Texas workforce program.
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
I'm going to start at MCC.
Okay.
And I'm transferring to A&M.
That's a good decision.
Free of charge, hoteling, food, everything is paid for, books and everything.
That's a real good decision. And A&M has shifted more operational than it used to be. So a lot of it is more focused on those private sector and operational jobs versus research now. So
I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to MCC. We're doing some speech classes, maybe get some undergrad stuff done. I'm going right in. They want me to test out and do the Alex test and go right into calculus 1. And I go, because I made a perfect score on my PSI math, and I was like, I don't know about that.
It's good to retake it though, in some ways, because it rebuilds your base of it. Then when you go to the harder math classes at A&M.
So for someone like me, or even someone out there generally who is wanting to study science, maybe it's not meteorology, maybe it's like studies of the Earth, different things. What is something you would recommend for them moving forward in their career goals?
Really and truly, just to pay attention to science and math. That's going to help you the most. Try to learn as much as you can about it, and just stay passionate about it. Passion will carry you through, even when you're struggling. That's what carried me through, was the passion.
There you go. And is there anything else that you want to say out there to anybody that is inspired? I mean, some people see you on TV. You're obviously work KXXV. Is there anything that you would like to tell the audiences out there for them moving forward? Like even my Gen Z, or even people moving forward, getting jobs, going to accomplish their career. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Work will be tough, but if you keep at it, it's going to pay off eventually. It's going to pay off, and especially in this industry, it may be tough at times, but if you're passionate about it, keep with it, and it'll pay off, and you'll succeed.
Oh, yeah.
And then also, have ways to get warnings. That's really going to keep you safe in this severe weather.
And if you have a dream, Chase it.
There you go.
Yeah, chase it. I want to say thank you very much for Josh Johns sitting on the ZCAST podcast. Make sure you watch on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, and more. Don't forget, we are now on YouTube with the first ever live video version. I want to thank Josh for your busy schedule to come out and be part of the ZCAST. Make sure you go check out KXXV for upcoming severe weather, news, and more. And don't forget to watch the new Twisters movie out in theaters now and it's near you. We'll see you next time on the ZCAST.